Hi everybody, welcome. Today I'm talking about the one thing that's probably missing from your stretch routine if you're still bothered by chronic, stiff, achy, and painful joints. If you're new, welcome. I'm Chris Quinones. I'm a licensed massage therapist, yoga instructor, and Ayurvedic health counselor. And I treat people who have chronic pain, limited movement in their bodies, and an overall desire to heal themselves using natural, non-surgical methods. I also combine my experience of a competitive athlete and my many years working in orthopedics and sports medicine. And so I combine these together to help people feel better, move better, and function better as they age. So if you're new, welcome, and be sure to subscribe and hit the bell if you're watching this on YouTube so you know of new episodes and when they drop. If you're watching this on Facebook or other social media platforms, be sure to leave some comments below with a like and let me know what else you'd like to hear about. Let's get started. So most of us know muscles, bones, tendons, ligaments make up a lot of the structural anatomy in the human body. But what we're gaining more knowledge about and respect for is the connective tissue called fascia. And fascia is this continuum of connective tissue in the body, where the body's organs and nervous system and blood vessels and literally every other system of your body is ensconced in this matrix of fascia, this web, this three-dimensional web that provides the tension between our muscles and bones to allow for us to stand upright and to keep our body in certain positions as we move them. And the connective tissue is affected by many different aspects in our lifestyles, namely movement. Movement determines how fascia organizes itself and remodels itself. We see this with sports injuries or after a complication with surgery where scar tissue forms and that person isn't able to have the same mobility and range of motion in that area due to that remodeling of that connective tissue. And so understanding that fascia organizes itself around lines of pull is what you need to remember when you bring in your stretch routines into your lives. Now, what does that mean, line of pull? It means that wherever the body moves, due to a model of tension, this tensegrity that is established between our muscles and bones because of this connective tissue, we're able to work in concert. The muscles and the body are working together in support of movement. And when we don't have healthy fascia, or we have fascia that's really dry or thick or scarred and disorganized in a way, we just aren't going to have that same mobility. And the way that those fibers organize themselves don't allow for a line of pull, a certain range of movement in the body. And so the more you move in a particular pattern or way is the more the fascia is going to organize itself in support of that. Okay, that is how this connective tissue works. And it's a tissue that is fascinating. Maybe I should do another video on what is fascia. But I will say that this connective tissue is more than just a structural support in the body. That it's more than just the packaging material that surgeons cut away when they go to perform a procedure. It is a breathing, living, biomechanical, auto-regulating system that is deeply entwined with our nervous system. And it is a tissue in the body that has some of the most innervated areas. I mean, it's just as compared to other parts of the body, for example. So this relationship with these nerves and the somatic nervous system deeply woven into the fascia really allow for this entire body communication. So it is the system of all systems. And when you move in a certain way, that fascia is going to organize itself in support of that. Whether that's good or bad depends on your lifestyle, your history, your genetics, your diet, your ability to cope and deal with stress in a healthy way, your ability to get to bed and sleep and get that restorative time for the tissues that our bodies were designed to do. So what you need to think about or add into your stretching routine is different kinds of movements other than the typical flexion and extension that we so often think about in our movement. What you want to add is torsional or rotational strain or stretch, as well as a shearing force to the tissues, or kind of plowing the tissues and pushing them aside, and then taking all and stretching all of that connective tissue and fascia with it. The lats, the latissimus dorsi, big muscle on the back. For a massage therapist and yoga instructor like myself, I do a lot of heavy lifting and a lot of physical work in my upper body and shoulders. And so for me, other than simply stretching laterally and out to the sides, which yes, is a stretch of the individual muscle and the fibers itself, I'm going to add a shearing force to that. And for that, I might use a self-massaging tool like a foam roller or some tennis balls put into a tube sock, or my favorite yoga tune-up balls. If you have been with me for a while or you've been around for a while, you know I love me my yoga tune-up balls, which, by the way, I'm not a spokesperson for. I just genuinely love these balls. I'll make sure to put a link to it down in the description below. And so I'll use these tools to self-massage and literally drag that tissue and push it aside, creating a shearing force. And instead of rolling over the foam roller or the balls, I'm actually using this pinning of the tissue and the tissue underneath it, underneath the superficial layers. And I'm literally pulling and stretching that. Now remember, this connective tissue is three-dimensional. So it surrounds not just the individual muscles and bones, but also each individual muscle bundle, muscle fiber, a muscle cell. So plowing, shearing that tissue to the side will allow for a different kind of mobility in your body. The second way, or second micro adjustment that you'll want to add to your stretching routine is torsional strain. So twisting or a rotation in that area, especially for the shoulder, hip, ankle, and toe joints. These are areas of the body in particular that could use more of rotation and a torsional twisting kind of force. Now, some activities are really good at this, like yoga and Pilates and dancing. Swimming would be another activity that really lends itself to these kinds of movements. But you can certainly integrate them by just making those micro adjustments in your existing stretch routine. So for example, for a Surya Namaskar A, Sun Salute A series, you may choose to modify that and from a Warrior 1 to a Warrior 2 position, Virabhadrasana 2. Can't talk, I'm gonna get there, folks. Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2, where that hip and femur bone is externally rotated. And that rotation of the hip allows for a different line of pull in the connective tissue that we just typically don't get in our daily activities and lives of walking, running, jumping, and just some of the other activities that we do or might normally come to think of when we think of your typical exercise regimen. So Yeah, those two things are what you need to add to your stretching routine in order for the lines of pull to honor the support of that movement in your body, to create the range so that your joints can move more fully. Without that, those joints are strained and pulled in different directions. And that creates this wear and tear on the joints. It speeds up the natural wearing down of the articular surface of the joints, speeding up osteoporosis and the need for joint replacements. And it is also going to allow for that fascia to squeeze and release the tissues around it, i.e., the muscles, right? The tendons. And this squeeze and release that happens through these movements are what really hydrate our tissues. That's why rasa is the first and most important tissue according to Ayurvedic medicine. It is the liquid, the watery portions of the body that determine the health of every other tissue in the body. The yogis knew this, and now our Western modern allopathic science and medical systems are becoming hip to it. You can learn more from Tom Myers, who's a very well-respected body worker and yoga student who has done a lot of research over 40 years with regard to fascia, as well as the International Fascia Congress, which was founded here in Cambridge, Massachusetts at Harvard University. And you'll find a lot of research is becoming more and more available across the board around this wonderful, fascinating, biodynamic and regulatory system that we have. And if you encompass these two little tweaks to your stretch routine, torsional forces, that twisting, as well as shearing forces, plowing into the tissues to allow that kind of three-dimensional stretch, will allow for that hydration of the tissues. So, good luck and let me know how it goes. See you next time.